For the last Sunday in August, you found the Georgia gang. Topping our agenda today, Emory wants to secede from DeKalb County. There's a new attorney general maybe at the state capitol. And out in Newton County, it's mosque mania. Some of the stories up for grabs on the Georgia gang.
From the Fox 5 studios, the Georgia gang starts now.
And we're glad you'll be with us on this last Sunday in August. We head into the fall, I assume, at some point. Now, I'm going to take a moderator's privilege and throw out one fact. Toss it to my friend Jeffrey, the economist. We're not going to discuss it. I'm going to let him organize his thoughts, and we'll do it later in the broadcast. The government reported Friday that economic growth for the second quarter was 1.1%. That officially means we're out of a recession. That does not. That means that with inflation, we are in a recession. We're still in a recession. And this president has the worst economic record of any president since Jimmy Carter.
I don't have to wait. I don't have to wait to answer that. No, why? No, I don't want to wait.
Well, because we got important local news. You gather your thoughts and we'll talk about it.
My thoughts are gathered.
That's the way I got to get it in there. Right?
Gotcha.
You like the way I did that, Phil?
Very, very clever.
All right, now let's talk about the big local story.
Called income inequality.
The big local story it came out of the blue, frankly. I'm not sure how it came out, but Emory University early in the week said we want to leave DeKalb County, secede, and become part of the city of Atlanta.
Oh, wait a minute. I mean, I don't think that they can secede from the county. Even if they go into the city of Atlanta, as other parts of DeKalb County are, they'll still be in DeKalb County.
Well, since they don't pay taxes,
it's not like Georgia trying to secede from the United States, right? It's not
different.
Right. It's different.
Well, as a DeKalb County resident, it looks to me like a secession for these reasons. These people, if Druid Hills and those beautiful homes there follow the lead of Emory University, they will be paying 40% more property taxes. They will become part of the Atlanta Public Schools. That's a coin flip I don't think I'd want to make. And but for right now, the story is confined to Emory. It's a great win for Mayor Kasim Reed. I don't think there's any. You take a world-class institution and make it part of the city. That's a very good thing. It's odd, though, to me that this came out of a community meeting by a DeKalb commissioner. Emory issued a statement, and Emory is really looking for a new president right now. Who made this decision? Who made the call? Anybody have any insight?
Well, I think that President Wagner was in on it, the outgoing president of Emory. It is a coup for Atlanta and Kasim Reed, the mayor. And this obviously has been in the works, and we have all been around long enough to know that what goes on behind closed doors. And so, yes, it was a surprise to the public, but obviously this was
it's definitely been going on.
This is any surprise. I think that Emory has long associated itself with the city of Atlanta. It has an Atlanta address. Everybody thinks that it's in Atlanta, and now it just wants to make it official. But let me put it in some context, okay? I came from a town where nobody wanted to be associated with the name, right?
Detroit.
And so, exactly right. And there was a town called East Detroit that changed its name, Dick, because it didn't want to have Detroit in its name. And here you have, the Harvard of the South wanting to be directly associated with the city of Atlanta. So to say it's a coup for the mayor is an understatement. This is huge for the city of Atlanta and the way the city is run. I mean, he gets a lot of criticism on this program, but when you look at taxes, safety, law enforcement across the board, this has been a successful administration to the extent that contiguous or nearly contiguous entities want to be a part of it.
I'm not disagreeing with you a bit. And if we want to really blow smoke toward Kasim, I'll join it, because Kasim Reed has done overall a very good job, and this is a major coup. The question is, who goes with Emory? Because remember, this becomes a huge school issue. If the people of Druid Hills decide they want to follow Emory into the city of Atlanta, they would become part of the Atlanta Public Schools. So I ask you, has a deal been cut where Druid Hills High School and those institutions in the Druid Hills corridor will get their own charter cluster within the city of Atlanta schools, because DeKalb would not give that to them.
I'm going to tell you, I really don't think that that's Emory's issue. I think Emory's issue is transit. They are landlocked.
There you go.
They see the MARTA referendum as an opportunity to participate when, we had a T-Splosh that was regional and it failed, and now you've got one that's just the city of Atlanta, and it's an opportunity for them to take advantage of it. So I don't think that they're looking at schools. But here's the real question. Is Emory at any point contiguous with the city of Atlanta? Is there a boundary? Because if there isn't, they're going to have to take some neighborhoods so that they have some contiguous
And
land.
beyond that, there is no problem with the schools being taken into the City of Atlanta system because they will become a part of the system, but they're not going to move the schools. They're going to still be in the same neighborhoods.
There'd be a problem for DeKalb County if DeKalb County lost that Druid Hills tax base. That would be a
Well,
problem,
that is-
and it would mess up school. It's a mess for DeKalb.
It would. You're right about redistricting, but I think Jeff has hit the nail on the head. I think transit was on the minds of Emory, and I think you're right. There is going to be a referendum this fall for the city of Atlanta, and they're looking at a
How
MARTA
they can
line.
And it's a
participate in
referendum
that.
that's going to
That's right.
going to pass.
I think that's correct.
Right, and to connect the
if you were-
Lindbergh and the...
If you were an Atlanta taxpayer, and I'm not, mercifully, but if you were, would you say, wait a minute, we're going to give a lot of money to Emory who just came in here? We've got our own needs that we've been waiting on. That looks to me like they're jumping into the queue.
Well, it seems so that Emory does serve the entire city and, in fact, the entire metro area. So I don't think anybody's going to have a problem with it because I've driven out to, doctors at Emory.
They sure need
and
relief there.
It certainly needs relief.
And let me say
in that
this, you
county.
don't just get Emory if you go into the city of Atlanta. You also get the
CDC.
Centers for Disease Control.
Right.
That's
Presumably. Yeah, you'd have to. All right, by the way, let's just a little appendage there for the city. NCR has expanded that Midtown movement that it's making. That's another coup for Kasim Reed, a major research center there. Staying in DeKalb for a moment, somebody said to me that DeKalb seems to take one step forward and one step back. This week, the county hired an independent auditor, a good thing. I'm afraid, though, that they've about to lock the barn door after the horses are out. However,
Well, the horses got
they're in
voted out.
prison. They're out in prison.
Or in jail, right.
Yeah, but then we learn that the county's sewage problems are so severe that developers are being told they can't build unless they pay for major sewage upgrades. And that does affect what few major projects there are in DeKalb County. That's not a good thing. I don't see any way you can look at that as a good thing for the county. Now, in Newton County, we've all watched on Fox 5 and others that these large community meetings over building a mosque near Covington, or is it in Covington? And look, they have every constitutional right to have a mosque in Newton County. So the county has declared a moratorium that I think is kind of meaningless. Or do you disagree, Phil?
Well, let's set the stage a minute in Newton County. One of the problems was the deceptiveness of the mosque in Doraville that bought this 135 acres, and it was originally designated as the Avery Community Center. It wasn't designated as a mosque and a cemetery and outgrounds. So that was very upsetting to a lot of people, let alone the mosque issue. So now there's a question of, was this deceptive? And also, you're right, the federal government cuts a lot of slack with regard to local zoning laws when it comes to a religious house of worship. My view is, and this is
Constitution too.
my view is they're going to have to redo.
What are you talking about?
They're going to have to redo the zoning request. Is my view.
They're going
to get it. They're going to get the mosque.
They are going to have to conform to a document called the United States Constitution and the First Amendment that says that you have a right to freedom of religion.
Well, I just
and
said
it's just
that
that simple.
how
And some of the
does it
statements,
get it?
some of the
Right.
things that were said at that meeting, some of the flyers that were passed out, so ugly, so reminiscent of the Donald Trump campaign.
Oh, that's
all
so-
this
oh,
fear
I knew
mongering.
you have to go to the
You
usual
can't
Donald
separate
Trump
the
hatred.
two. They are
That's where it
the
comes
This
from.
is
Absolutely.
older
The
rural
so-called
South speaking
moratorium.
out.
Well,
That's
you
all
know,
it is.
and there's also the other side of the
We gotta
coin
get out.
too. This Council for American Islamic Relations was vicious too. So both sides had some terrible rhetoric. Jeff,
Well,
don't
I
forget
think-
Well,
that.
and the mosque people admitted they didn't handle it well.
I think that the courts will prevail.
Yes.
Oh, I do too.
I think it'll get built.
I know, it's a question of how Newton County handles it. Well, we had a couple other stories I wanted to get to, but we'll try that when we come back. But the big political story will also be coming up, and that is, will Sam Hollins leave his position as Attorney General of the state of Georgia? Stay with us.
Have a question or comment for the Georgia Gang? Visit their website at fox5atlanta.com.
To stay on the local front for just a couple of more items, Fulton County this week announced a streamlining of its criminal justice system. and the story absolutely floored me. 47,000 cases are the backlog in the Fulton County State and Superior Courts, felonies and misdemeanors. 47,000 cases. That boggles the mind. If anybody wants to disagree, go ahead. Otherwise, I'm going to change the subject.
Well, it's
No,
horrible.
it boggles the mind, but I'm glad they're fixing it. That's the main thing.
Is it their problem, or is it the problem of a litigious society?
Well,
I think you hit that
I mean,
too. Both.
well, with all those felonies and misdemeanors, I'd say we need a better class of people, or citizens, what have you. I mean, really.
Lester Maddox.
In Clayton County, another
Better idea of what we're prosecuting.
that other garden spot, Clayton County, a court ordered them in a settlement, ordered the county to pay $750,000 to 3 deputies who were twice demoted and abused by Sheriff Victor Hill.
Well, that's right. It's
How much does that guy cost in the county?
Well, it's probably up, probably over $1 million with all of the things he's done. He's served more than one term. He's on another term now, and you know, again, he's one of the worst sheriffs in Georgia.
Well, it's just, you know, settlement after settlement, all of it, and this one is over one we've gone over for several years on this broadcast.
There was one previous to this that I think was significantly more. I don't remember the amount, but
Yeah.
he's
they paid
had
a lot
some-
of. They've
He's
had to pay a
costing
lot of
them.
money.
Right.
Yeah, he's a
Clayton
costly
County paid a lot.
sheriff.
Yeah.
All right, now, the bigger story in the state politically is this. It's hard to find a source on this that knows it, but apparently from the information I'm able to gather, Sam Olens, the state's attorney general, is going to resign to become the president of Kennesaw State University. You know, he's Mr. Cobb County, that's where he comes from.
Right.
It would seem a nice fit. He would earn a lot more as president of KSU than he does as attorney general.
And he would also have the opportunity to straighten things out, which apparently got out of hand in terms of financial management.
Yeah, and he also, I think, is young enough that he could come back and run for office, couldn't he? Some other point, 4 or 5 years down the road?
Well, it's hard to say, and we reported this on Insider Advantage. The rumor's been around for a couple weeks. It is up to the governor. Because the Board of Regents will have the final say on who's going to be president of KSU. And if the governor says yes, I would wager that he's got it. And then, of course, that opens up politically another interesting facet. The governor would get to appoint an acting attorney general. And who would that be?
Well, the name I've heard floated about is Chris Carr, the Commissioner of Economic Development, and
I've heard
former
that
Johnny
name.
Isakson hand.
I've heard
the
that
governor's
name.
counsel is another possible candidate.
Yes, yeah. I think Chris Carr is doing a pretty good job where he is, and I don't know if he wants to leave. And I'm not sure if he's an active member of the state bar. That's
Well, he was a lawyer, that's for
right.
sure.
That's right.
That's
Though he's
interesting. Be
been
interesting to
practicing
see.
politics and other things for a while. All right, speaking of money, I mean, really what Sam Olens ought to do is not go to Kennesaw State. You ought to go to the Georgia Ports Authority. Really,
about
if
that?
Sam Olens needs to earn a little more money, I
That's the
think
place
a
to
job,
be, huh?
He's smart. He could run the ports. I don't know what he knows about logistics, but how about that? Curtis Foltz, the director of the Ports Authority, by all accounts,
Has done
one
a
of the
good
best
job.
in the business. One of the best in the business. We complain sometimes about these salaries for airport directors and that sort of thing. This one's kind of a record breaker in my memory. He gets $2 million in salary and benefits to leave. He gets a $631,000 annual pension payment. Really? And he gets $91,000 for vacation and sick leave that he didn't take. $91,000. You get sick leave?
Well, no. And
You get vacation
This
pay?
is incredible.
My employer
When you had your
doesn't give me
business, did you
vacation pay.
get sick leave, vacation pay?
You did get vacation.
Well, this is
But no.
very excessive. And
But if you didn't take it, you didn't get paid for it.
Oh, no.
That's
no.
what I'm
You
getting
took-
at.
No, no.
well, this is very. Even the governor spoke out the other day on how excessive this was.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I hate to be
Right.
pounding
and
on
they
this.
thought that he was going to leave several years ago, so they enhanced his package. This is how all this occurred.
Now, Phil, you
Yeah,
report
man.
that there's a growing scandal in Georgia over behavior in our state prisons, that gangs seem to be taking over. I do see on the news a lot of stories about these cell phones being smuggled in. That's been pretty well covered.
It's a simmering scandal in Georgia's prison system, and you've heard me talk about this over the last couple of years. The whole gang problem in Georgia and nationwide is getting out of control. Gangs actually control a couple of these prisons. There's been 8 lockdowns, I'm told, of prisons where you have to swoop in. You know, a warden was fired not so long ago because of the smuggling of these cell phones. And it's another problem too, because in Georgia, we can't block the cell phone signals.
Right.
And we've got to find a way around that. I've talked to some technology folks, and they say there's a way to do it.
Well, your son could figure that out.
That's
Can your
right.
son figure it out?
That's right. There's a way to do it.
Your son?
There's a way to do it. And these are all tech geniuses, right? All of our children.
Yeah.
But it's a serious problem. You've had guards being killed. You just had recently inmates being killed, and this is a simmering scandal. And the Department of Corrections better get a hold of it, or they ought to get a new head of a Department of Corrections.
Well, and Governor Deals had none of that on his watch, so I would hope he would move to fix that. We got to get out of this segment. When we come back, we're going to talk about that 1.1% annual growth in the economy, quarterly growth that is. We're also going to talk about what might be the end of Obamacare in Georgia. How would you like to be getting a 12.4% premium increase when you're supposedly on the government dole? Stay with us.
Have a question or comment for the Georgia Gang? Visit their website at fox5atlanta.com.
And remember to find us on Facebook and what else? Oh, yeah, YouTube.
YouTube,
yeah.
Don't forget
We don't do Twitter. That's the one I always start to say. We just don't do that.
I wish we would.
Well, take it on, because
Okay.
I don't have time.
Okay.
All right. It was announced this week. Last week we talked about Aetna leaving the state's Obamacare program, and we predicted dire consequences. Well, the first one was Blue Cross Blue Shield getting approval from the state for a 21.4% increase. Did I say 12? 21.4% increase in the cost of policies going forward for Georgians under Obamacare. How does this work?
That wasn't supposed to happen. That President Obama promised it would be affordable and you could keep your own doctor, all of which are lies. And we're in serious trouble. As I pointed out last week, even Hillary Clinton, to her credit, says we've got to fix this.
Well, everybody has said we've got to fix it because they had to go through so many contortions to get it passed in the first place.
Exactly right. And so it's an evolution, just like Social Security
You said,
and the others
you said it would
before.
straighten out about a year ago.
And I think that it is going to straighten out.
But
I
that's
don't
news.
think that-
But there's less competition.
I said it last week. I mean, you got 20 million Americans who have insurance, health insurance, that didn't have health
have it
insurance before Obamacare.
What bothered
so
me-
is that progress, or is that the nation moving in the wrong direction? When more people, 20 million more people, have health care.
And they have to be subsidized and somebody has to
Thank
pay
you.
for it.
They have to be
bothered
subsidized,
me-
and somebody has to pay for
what
it,
bothered
just
me-
like you subsidize it for seniors.
But it's not
Right.
working. It's
and
not
just
working.
like
Medicare
and
is
just like
working.
you subsidize education, you have to subsidize
Medicare is
it.
working as long as the taxpayers are willing to pay for it. You're right.
That's exactly right.
Right.
And it's the same with
You're right.
this.
And for
That's
now-
right.
for
And the
now,
problem
I'm
with
happy.
Georgia,
And they
the
think
problem
money-
in Georgia is that we didn't, right?
And they think money
We
grows
blocked-
on trees. That's the problem.
By not participating in the program,
That's right.
turning away from, how many was it? $30 billion because we wouldn't invest $3 in the state
know,
of Georgia alone.
that
And then
was
10 years the bill would come due.
That was a fiscally responsible action.
That was the most
No.
irresponsible thing that you could imagine. You're not going to get how big of a return is that?
So now you want a single
tenfold
payer system?
return?
Now
I
you,
do.
now you want to jump from the
I
frying
do.
pan to
All
the
right,
fire?
I want a
let me
single
drop
payer
this
system,
subject
yes.
to segue to the one I began the broadcast with. When you have 1.1% economic growth in the second quarter, you can't afford all this other stuff.
And why is that? Why do we have a 1.1%
Because the president's
growth?
economic plan has been a disaster from day
The
one.
president inherited a Republican disaster. Do we remember that?
and handled
right
it-
now,
and
you've got
handled it
full
improperly.
employment at 5%.
How
And
you
the
doing with
reason,
those
let
shovel-ready
me finish
jobs?
because you started off with this. And the reason that we've got 1% growth is because it's very simple. We have a consumer-driven economy. And wages aren't keeping pace. All the money's going to the top 1%. As this economy grows, that's what's happening. We have the greatest
And
income
who's getting
inequality.
hammered?
We have the greatest inequality that we've ever had. And if folks don't get the money to go to the movies and go to the grocery store and put gas in their cars, you're going to have very
Well,
slow
Alexis-
economic
Well,
growth.
Jeff,
And that's
let me
exactly
just
what's
say this.
happening.
Exactly right.
Think of all of the thousands and thousands of business stifling regulations that this president has done. That has really hurt the economy. economy. You forgot to mention that.
But the regulations have prevented another recession.
Oh, that's
and
not
also
true.
they have inspired
Well, no,
innovation.
Alexis, I can't agree with you there. 1.1% growth is
Well,
tantamount to recession.
the
Because if you
problem-
look at the
and-
just normal
well, if-
cost of living,
Yeah.
1.1 doesn't do it.
It's not much, but the thing is, he was resisted in all the way when his initial efforts to inspire the economy to grow with government funding.
You
He
know,
had 2
projects,
years when he took
and
over.
the
He had
Congress
2
would not
years.
support
He had
him.
2 years with
The
his own
Congress would
party
not
in
support
control
him.
of Congress. You conveniently forget all of this. He had 2 years with all this phony stimulus stuff and
Well,
all this
and
high
he
tax.
used-
You know
he
what?
used
You
that time
conveniently,
to
you
help
conveniently forget what he inherited from George W. Bush,
From the
which was a
trickle-down-
mess,
the
which was a
trickle-down economy.
meltdown in our real estate market. Look at it today.
And I don't-
Look at the building
fine,
just in
but he didn't
Atlanta
fix it. He
alone.
didn't fix the
Look
mess.
at the
All right, let me
look
change
at
the subject.
unemployment then and unemployment now. The fact of the matter is, all the money is going to the top 1%. And how many blue jeans are they going to buy, or cars, or houses? They only need a
now
couple,
you're-
just like all the rest of us.
I
And
gotta-
money
I
doesn't
gotta
go
change
to
the
middle-
subject.
The middle class is getting
I've got to change the
squeezed.
subject.
Yes.
If we don't
Barack
get money in
Obama-
the hands of the middle class,
Barack
we're
Obama-
not going to see the
We're gonna
kind
be
of
in trouble.
growth that we ought to be
Barack
having.
Obama has hurt black people more than any president
Oh,
in my
stop.
memory. Black people's income is down, their family wealth is down, their unemployment rate is soaring. This is a bad president for
Are you
African
getting that
Americans.
from Donald Trump? You know,
It
Donald
sounds
Trump
like
says
that.
to
Well
me,
before
if you
Donald
step
Trump.
outside, you get shot. Well, I was walking down the street in my neighborhood, and you know what? I didn't get shot.
And
You're
I'm
armed.
You all
here
have
too.
got a,
You're armed.
you all have got
I'm
a
not
really
armed, and I haven't
stilted
been shot
view
this
of
week.
African American
We gotta get out.
community.
Who's
Johnny,
y'all?
Y'all.
We gotta get out.
Y'all.
You would never stereotype, would you?
most certainly
That's a
would.
ridiculous
Johnny
stereotype.
Isaacson, by the way, Johnny Isaacson's having one debate. Fair? Is that fair? I think it is.
Well, when you're ahead, why would you go out? Which is the same
Right, he's gonna
play
have one
that
debate
Hillary
with Jim
Clinton is
Barksdale.
I
making the
disagree.
same
I
play.
like debates, whether it's presidential or local or statewide. So
Well,
I'd
it's
like
a-
to see more.
But it's a smart political move.
It's a smart political move, but as all of us have,
By the way, his
journalistic
commercial-
background, we like debates, don't
His
we?
commercial
We
that
like
appeals
more.
to Democrats and Republicans plays all the time. He's got a lot of money. He's playing a lot. It's a
Well,
good
not only
commercial.
that, but I understand
We
that
gotta get out.
I understand that Johnny Isaacson is reaching out to a lot of Democrats, a lot of his Democratic friends.
Sure, absolutely. All right, we've got to get out. We don't have time to tell you about Bill Clinton going to Manuel's, but we can tell you that Mike Pence, the Republican vice presidential nominee, is here tomorrow here in Atlanta.
I wonder if anybody will recognize
Going to
him.
raise some money,
They
and
didn't know
when
who
we
he
come
was
back,
when we went to the barbershop.
we will
in
resort
Nebraska.
to winners and losers.
Time now for the week's winners and losers.
All right, let's begin with winners and losers, and I'll start with you, Jeffrey.
Well, I don't have much. I'm going to go back to the mosque and in Newton County. I think that that's just a shame for those folks. And again, I think it shows a lot of this white nationalism that we're seeing with the Donald Trump campaign. It's everywhere, my goodness. And now he wants to talk about black people in front of white audiences. So there is my other winner, Alexis Scott, and her wonderful quotes in the New York Times on that very subject, that Donald Trump is out there, right, talking about black people, but not to black people, only to white audiences,
You
which you are
folks-
very good to point out, so thank you, you're the winner.
For 30 years, you folks have complained on this broadcast about the plight of black America. Now Trump addresses the issue.
He's what?
And you
what
call
did
him a
he,
racist.
how did he address it? What policy did he put in place? Did he offer? Nothing.
Jobs and economic
Oh, I'm going
growth.
to give you jobs. He
All
going
right,
to give everybody jobs.
Go
But
ahead with
that's
winners
no
and
policy.
losers.
That's
It
no
did take
perception.
5 reporters to get you in a story.
Well, that's all right, but I appreciate
They
that
were
they
in
did the
different
story.
cities.
Thank you. I'm going to salute Bud McEntee.
Yeah.
He is being inducted into the Atlanta Press Club Hall of Fame along with Eugene Patterson posthumously, John Smith Sr., publisher of the Atlanta Inquirer, and Judy Woodruff of the McNeil, the
Well, it used to be a McNeil
PBS
era.
NewsHour with
Yes,
Judy Woodruff.
yes.
And Gwen Eiffel.
Bud McEntee
and Bud
was the
McEntee is the news director
for a very,
here for
very long time, and was the news director when we all came aboard.
Right.
And I cut a video on him for the press club this week.
Oh,
I didn't know you
excellent.
knew about that. That's good. All right.
All right.
Phil, what do you have?
Well, I think Alexis and I were talking just before the broadcast. We want to make a winner the Shepherd Center. It's the 40th anniversary this year. The really nationally renowned spinal center. Their CEO is retiring. I hope I get his name right. It's Gary Olseny. And Alexis,
Sarah Morrison,
you said Sarah Morrison is going to be
Coming
the new CEO, so they are winners. And, you know, the loser is the state of Georgia because the mosque problem that we've discussed, it's due to this influx of refugees, many of whom, sad to say, are not vetted, and that is a very serious problem. And I can understand why people might be fearful.
I understand it in a rural community. It's perfectly understandable. All right, I want to make as my winner, Jeff Francoeur. We hardly knew you this time around. He's gone. Why don't we just tell the fans we don't care what you think or who you like. So Jeff Francoeur's gone. The Falcons,
I think they are doing
in their
that.
third preseason game. Well, I started to say they looked awful, but actually they were 8-8 last year. That's the definition of mediocrity, and that's what the Falcons look like in their third preseason game. And finally, my loser is Verdelia Turner of the Georgia Federation of Teachers. She said that DeKalb's school superintendent, Steve Green, didn't know anything because he's from Kansas. I hope she's not allowed to teach, certainly hope she's not allowed to teach geography. Steve Green is from Kansas City, Missouri, the greatest city on the plains. Kansas City, Kansas, nice little city. It has meat packing and it has a NASCAR track. But Steve Green is from Kansas City, and Verdelia, that's in Missouri.
Okay.
End of report to her. See you next week on the Georgia Gang.